The first light of dawn rests gently upon the dew-kissed grass, turning each droplet into a small jewel as the air carries the faint scent of apple blossoms. In the quiet stretch of the castle's outer fields, the orchard stands still, rows of trees leaning in like old friends exchanging secrets. A figure moves slowly between them, wrapped in a woolen cloak, their steps sinking into the soft earth. The wooden pail at their side rocks in rhythm with each pace, its base damp from a recent rinse at the well. The castle's high walls, some distance away, rise pale against the awakening sky, their presence a silent reminder of protection and permanence. A sparrow calls once, twice, before settling into silence again, and somewhere nearby the gentle creak of a wooden gate swings in the morning breeze. The orchard keeper pauses beside a tree whose branches bend under the weight of ripening fruit, brushing their hand along the cool bark as if greeting a friend. They check each apple with quiet patience, fingertips seeking firmness, eyes watching for the soft blush of readiness. A faint warmth spreads across the horizon as the sun edges higher, touching the orchard in threads of gold. The keeper lingers, letting the stillness settle into their bones, knowing that this is as much a ritual of belonging as it is a task. When the pail begins to fill, its weight becomes a familiar anchor, drawing them onward through the rows. The rhythm is slow, unhurried, the day ahead stretching wide and gentle. In the far distance, a bell from within the castle rings once, deep and mellow, a sound that folds itself into the orchard's quiet heartbeat, marking not urgency, but the steady passage of a morning that will drift seamlessly into afternoon.
A cool mist clings to the orchard as the morning unfolds, softening the edges of every branch and leaf until the world seems made of watercolor. The castle's silhouette stands watch beyond the low stone wall, its towers brushed with the pale blue of early light. Beneath the trees, fallen petals rest on the grass like scattered parchment, each one carrying the faint perfume of spring. The keeper walks slowly, their boots darkened by damp earth, carrying a wicker basket lined with linen. The air is filled with the subtle rustle of leaves shifting against one another, a language spoken only in quiet hours. They pause to wipe the sheen of dew from a cluster of pears, the cloth moving in patient circles, as if coaxing each fruit awake. Further along, a patch of wild mint grows at the orchard's edge, its fragrance lifting into the air with every step, mingling with the scent of wood smoke drifting faintly from the castle kitchens. The keeper kneels briefly, adjusting a crooked stake that supports a young tree, pressing the soil back around its roots with the flat of their palm. Overhead, a pair of doves takes flight, their wings carrying the softest echo through the cool air. The mist begins to thin, revealing the warm blush of apples deep within the branches, each one catching the light in a muted gleam. The keeper's movements are unhurried, each action deliberate, as though the orchard itself breathes in time with their work. Beyond the wall, a slow-moving cart creaks past on the distant road, its wheels whispering against stone. The moment holds, a fragile balance of earth, air, and human care, until it folds into the next, the keeper moving onward, guided by the orchard's own quiet rhythm.
The orchard lies in a cradle of morning light, the grass still holding the night's cool touch beneath its surface. Bees hover in slow arcs above the blossoms, their hum low and steady, blending with the faint murmur of a brook that winds just beyond the outer fields. The castle walls, pale against the brightening sky, seem to watch over the orchard like a patient guardian. A cloaked figure emerges from the small wooden gate, their hand trailing along the weathered frame as they step inside the rows. They carry a narrow-bladed pruning knife, its handle smoothed from years of use, and a small satchel slung over their shoulder. The first tree they approach is an old one, its trunk gnarled and strong, roots stretching deep into the soil. With practiced care, they trim away a branch weighed by age, laying it gently into a pile that will later feed the evening's hearth fire. The scent of fresh-cut wood mingles with the perfume of ripening plums, sweet and grounding. A robin lands nearby, tilting its head as if to observe the work, then hops into the shadow of a low branch. The keeper moves from tree to tree, checking for signs of overgrowth, each cut measured, each step quiet. The castle's bell tolls softly in the distance, the sound carrying across the fields like a slow ripple of time. In the far corner of the orchard, the brook glimmers, its surface catching the gold of the rising sun. The keeper pauses there, leaning on the wooden handle of a rake, breathing in the calm air before returning to the task. Every motion feels part of a greater cycle, a steady, unbroken rhythm that has guided hands and hearts through countless seasons. Twilight lingers just beyond the horizon, holding back the day in a breathless pause. The orchard rests in a half-light, its trees outlined in silver as the moon fades and the first threads of dawn appear. The grass whispers under the steps of the keeper, who moves with the ease of someone who knows every rise and hollow of this land. A shallow basket rests against their hip, padded with soft cloth to cradle the morning's harvest. The air is crisp, laced with the faint scent of last night's rain that still clings to the bark and leaves. The keeper stops before a pear tree whose branches bow gently, its fruit cool and firm to the touch. Fingers test each one, turning them slightly as if listening for an unspoken signal of readiness. Above, the castle's highest window catches the first spark of sunlight, reflecting it in a brief glimmer that fades as quickly as it came. Somewhere between the rows, a low stone bench waits, its surface damp with dew. The keeper sits for a moment, watching a thin ribbon of mist curl around the orchard's edge before drifting toward the fields beyond. A faint clink of metal echoes from the castle courtyard, perhaps a stable hand at work or a kitchen door closing softly. The keeper arises again, placing the first pears gently into the basket. The rhythm of walking and selecting becomes a quiet litany, a prayer of gratitude for the orchard's steady gift. As the sky brightens, the mist unravels, and the scent of wet earth deepens, marking the start of another day in which time will move slowly, carrying the orchard and its keeper through the gentle hours ahead.
The sun has not yet cleared the horizon, but the orchard glows faintly under the soft spill of pre-dawn light. A cool wind passes through, setting the branches swaying in a slow, measured dance. The keeper arrives with a wooden crate balanced against their hip, its edges smoothed from years of handling. Their boots press into the damp soil, leaving faint impressions that the grass quickly begins to reclaim. The air holds the scent of moss and the sweet tang of ripening apples, mingled with the faint smoke of the castle's early fires. They move toward the far edge, where younger trees stand in neat lines, their leaves catching the light in silvery flashes. A small cloth pouch dangles from the keeper's belt, holding a handful of beeswax wraps for preserving the choicest fruit. The sound of a nearby stream threads softly through the morning, accompanied by the occasional flutter of wings as small birds flit between branches. The keeper pauses to inspect a limb heavy with pears, using a gentle twist to free one before laying it carefully in the crate. The act repeats, slow and deliberate, until the weight in their hands feels balanced against the lightness of the air. The castle's outline, just visible over the orchard wall, seems both distant and near, a steady presence that has watched over this harvest for generations. The wind shifts, carrying with it the faint toll of a bell, and the keeper knows the kitchens will soon stir to life. Yet here, among the rows, the hours stretch unbroken, measured only by the quiet rhythm of tending and the gentle murmur of leaves.
A pale gold light settles across the orchard, soft as silk and warm against the lingering chill of morning. Each tree stands poised in its own patch of sunlight, shadows falling like long, quiet sighs over the grass. The castle's ramparts catch the glow in muted amber, their stones drinking in the day's first heat. The keeper steps through the low gate, a pair of shears in one hand, a shallow basket in the other. Their movements are slow, unhurried, shaped by the understanding that time here is not kept by clocks, but by the ripening of fruit and the turning of seasons. They approach a row of cherry trees, each branch dotted with clusters of deep red, the color rich against the pale leaves. The shears click softly, cutting through slender stems, and the cherries fall into the basket with the gentle sound of small rain. Overhead, a faint breeze stirs, carrying the scent of hay from the outer fields, where a few early workers guide their carts toward the castle gates. The keeper pauses beneath an old oak at the orchard's edge, its broad canopy offering a brief refuge from the growing warmth. From this vantage, the orchard unfolds in quiet symmetry, rows upon rows leading toward the faint outline of the hills beyond. The basket grows heavier, each addition deepening the satisfaction of the morning's work. A distant bird calls from the hedgerow, its voice threading through the stillness. The keeper turns toward the next row, the rhythm of harvest resuming, each step a measured beat in the calm, unbroken song of the orchard. Here, in the steady presence of trees and light, the day promises nothing more than its own gentle unfolding.
Mist lingers low among the orchard's roots, curling around each trunk like a soft scarf. The castle's towers loom in the distance, their shapes blurred by the early haze, yet their presence feels constant, as if they breathe alongside the land. A figure moves between the rows, their breath rising in pale clouds, hands tucked into the sleeves of a thick wool tunic. They carry a leather satchel, its surface worn and pliant, filled with pruning tools wrapped in linen. The orchard is hushed, save for the faint sound of dripping water where last night's rain gathers at leaf tips. Approaching a young apple tree, the keeper kneels, brushing away a few fallen leaves from its base before loosening the soil with a narrow spade. The scent of earth rises, rich and grounding. Nearby, a patch of wild thyme grows unchecked, its fragrance stirring in the cool breeze. The keeper straightens, casting a glance toward the far edge where the wall meets the open field, watching as a single ray of sunlight breaks through the mist, catching on the wet bark until it gleams. They move on, pausing to adjust the twine supporting a slender branch heavy with fruit, fingers lingering as though in quiet reassurance. The satchel grows lighter as tools are returned, one by one, their work drawing to a close for now. Still, the rhythm of tending continues in thought, each step carrying the orchard's calm forward into the day, the castle's shadow stretching softly across the land like a promise of enduring peace.